Radio Cayman,
the voice,
the heart, the soul of the Cayman Islands.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. MedLab in Smith Road Plaza, your complete medical laboratory solution. Call 949-7331. And Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village, convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays.
Oh, I think they're doing a great job. A lot of them are.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. How are you?
Not too bad, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today with Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Wow, can you believe it? It's Friday already. And our good friend Joel Wilson would always say Friday, but he says it better. So he'll soon be saying it again directly and in person. Or we have some open line. If you're up on YouTube watching us, you'll see a handsome gentleman sitting next to us. We're going to tell you who he is. It's been a while he hasn't been with us. So stay tuned for Talk Today.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255. Courtesy of Flow,
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
All right, good afternoon. I almost feel like the pilot down in the headset, aboard Cayman Airways, making the announcement from the flight deck, as they say. It's been so long that we've traveled for some of us that not even sure. Well, making his way from a long journey via the parking lot, Mr. Esther Ebanks. Good afternoon. How are you?
pretty good, Dwayne. How about yourself?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Honestly, it is, one of those times, one of those days when you realize that, you are your best self when you do your very best for others and yourself.
Oh, without a doubt. I can agree with that.
So I'm appreciative that you were able to join us today, and it's been a while, and I, recognize that increasingly, not enough of us are making the time to share our perspective in a way that is not only respectful and responsible, but resourceful, in that it may encourage other people to start to think and to talk and to act in a productive, constructive, positive way. And the last few times that you were with us, for me anyway, it's good to be able to hear the voices, to get the opinions, to see how life is impacting our younger people and how they are also impacting life. So with that, man, I want to listen closely and attentively. I want to learn as much as I can, and hopefully together we can share with others that we may inspire.
Definitely. Well, when it comes to, I say, the generation that's currently growing up and then the newer generation that is being brought up, it's going to be a topsy-turvy moment in time for a lot of us, I can just say.
For all of us, right?
Yes, definitely all of us.
Yeah.
When it comes to being able to handle either your own issues or be able to handle the issues with your colleagues, your friends, your family, it definitely makes you think on a perspective of wondering, can I only think for myself, or should we all think for each other? And I feel that a little bit more of a unification can definitely help speed that process up, rather than everybody having to critically think for their own selves at times. But don't stop thinking for yourself either, because to put everybody in front first can be beneficial, but don't leave yourself behind either.
Right. You know, I joke sometimes or attempt to joke, repeat what has been shared with us. What they say, one thing about life, nobody gets out of it alive. Right? And when you think of that, it may be the comedian as part of his stand-up skit. It may be that person, who is in that space and place at that time that isn't necessarily feeling the most enthusiastic. But when you sit and reflect on it, it's a reality. When you listen to Bob Marley and you say, once a man, twice a child.
Yep.
If you're lucky enough, in my mind, to be able to live a long, healthy, productive life, you go through a particular sort of passage of time.
Yeah, without a doubt. Depending on how those passage of times really impact you, I would have to say, because everybody's situation is always different. Like, nobody has rainbows and butterflies every single day. I mean, that would be the perfect life.
Unicorns and Skittles, huh? I don't know. But is that part of the issue then? And we're speaking to SD Ebanks, and I want else to listen to be a part of our discussion. It is Friday, and for me, Fridays are, they should all be a no work day Friday. Everybody should just work, every day except Friday. It just Monday through Thursday, 7 days in a week. Why be greedy? Give us 3.
Why not?
But it takes you, for many of us, into the weekend. We'll go home, we'll wash the car, get ready for church. We'll work in the yard. We may do other things because it's the end of the week in our minds. But it also causes some of us to sort of retreat to our favorite chair and read, hopefully. Some may watch TV or
It's a comforting zone kind of thing. Everybody wants to really get into that de-stress moment. And life can be stressful sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, not sometimes, a majority of the times, depending on what your work field is or what your environment truly is.
You shared just then that we're in for a ride. It could be topsy-turvy. We being all of us, young at heart alike. And I think in hearing you talk about unification, I kept saying recently more and more, we need to come together as one. We need to unite. I thought I also heard you say in just moments ago that instead of doing things selfishly, let's do things collectively.
Yes.
I wonder if, as a people, we're seeing that our individual actions are impacting people around us, and in what way. And is it the selfish endeavors just to satisfy our own sort of personal interests, needs, wants, and the like, knowingly doing it and being completely insensitive, inconsiderate, uncaring about the impact that is having on our surrounding people, our community? I wonder if it's just we're so caught up that we don't really stop to think, or is it that we're saying, I'm looking out for number one and number one only? What do you think?
Well, that's a subject that is quite, can't really say too sensitive to talk about, but everybody's opinions will be different no matter what. Again, depending on the environment and the situation that they're going through. Definitely on the uniting part, I really believe that a lot of people should start coming to work together when it comes to problem solving, when it comes to certain situations where your best friend Joe or your great coworker Bill is in a tight bind. Definitely ask them. Don't just be hear their story and be like, oh man, I've been through that too. Don't worry, you'll get through it. How are they going to get through it? Ask them. Just really pick their brains. Just be the type of person to listen, and then if you both can brainstorm something together, you'll realize that instead of thinking just for yourself, you both decide to work together to think about it and realize, oh, I didn't look at it from that level now. So getting that other insight is always something amazing to really talk about, and it can really lead to revolutionary problem solving. And I feel like a lot of that should start happening a lot more in the island, because I feel that everybody that comes to this island thinks that it's going to be pretty easy. It's island life. It's beautiful. I mean, you got comfortable weather mostly throughout the year, except for summer. Summer makes that sun decide to go a little harder.
Yeah. All right, so when we come back from the break, let's pick it up. Let's talk about it. We want to invite everybody who's listening to call. Take us a path. It's sort of open line. If it's okay, host it along with me today. We're going to talk to him. We're going to talk with him. And through him, we're going to talk and listen with the intent. Listening to understand, not necessarily listening to respond.
Yes.
Be that attentive, engage, listener. All right, 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255. To our listeners, though, Mr. John Bothwell over at the Department of Environment, busy gentleman, very, very committed to the environment. Was hoping to be able to come into the studio, but knowing him, he honors his commitments, so he's managed to find himself being able to be in two places at one time. Still doing his meeting where he needs to be, but he can step away, make a phone call, and join us in the studio via the phone. Check that out. Who say he couldn't be in two places? So we can talk to him in a bit when he comes back. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Busy. Feel like there's not just enough hours in the day. Savannah Pharmacy, service to make your life easier. Now you can WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. And pickup is just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays. WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. Savannah Pharmacy, wholesome values with modern conveniences.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab. Blood test, x-ray and mammogram, all of that is MedLab. Affordable fees and friendly service, a full professional team. MedLab is always comfortable, MedLab is always clean. For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
From boat days to beach gatherings, leave the catering to Subway. Choose from small and large sandwich platters, double meat wrap platters, and top it off with optional cookie platters for dessert. Or ask about our Subway box to go with the option of 6-inch or foot-long sandwich, 1 cookie, and 1 bag of chips. For all occasions and celebrations, let Subway focus on the food so you can focus on the fun. Visit subway.ky for catering options. Subway. Eat fresh.
Wouldn't it have been grand if you had purchased land 30 years ago? It may not be 2020, but a perfect vision has never been more clear. Cayman Brac and Little Cayman, poised for growth with an eye on the future. Your land, your history, your future. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
Did you know that ValueMed Pharmacy has a free online prescription service? Managing your health and medical requirements has never been easier with ValueMed. Simply visit value-medpharmacy.com. That's VALU-medpharmacy.com and click the Refill Prescriptions tab on our website. Fill in the information for new prescriptions or refills and choose your preferred pickup location. ValueMed on Walkers Road or Town. Then bring in your original prescription from your doctor when picking up. There's no need to stand in line and wait for your prescription. Save time and pick up prescriptions at your convenience by visiting value-medpharmacy.com. That's VALU-medpharmacy.com.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks for joining us. And thanks too to Esther Ebanks for sitting with us a bit as we facilitate our calls. And as referenced prior to the break, we have the good company now via the telephone to be joined by Mr. John Bothwell. Hey, afternoon, John. How are you?
Hi, Sterling. Doing good, and hello to your other guests in studio there.
All right.
Thank you for having us on. I do appreciate this so much, and I apologize we couldn't be there in person. I've had to leave another meeting going without me as it happens.
No, man, listen, thank you very, very much. And I know that your preference and commitment and diligence would have, without question, if it allowed you, you'd have been in the studio. But given that, strong work ethic that you have, you do as we said, managed to be here and there at the same time. So all is well, man. All right. Now, Happy New Year to you.
You too.
All right. And I hopefully will say at my heart to everybody every day, even, in December. All right. All day, all year round. All right. So I appreciate you allowing us a chance to chat and share with us a number of things. Now, we know that there have been a number of amendments to laws, regulations have been sort of introduced and the like, and the recent sitting, and some of it have to do with, I think they what call it alien species regulations, right?
Yes.
So I decided to check because last evening there was that grayish comet in the sky, and I want people to realize which aliens we're talking about. So
yeah. Unfortunately, that was a name we had to use from the time we wrote past the National Conservation Act, because while we're all worried about invasive species, that's a much harder thing to define, and obviously we don't want anything in a law that's not clear and easy to define. So we went with alien species, which is just anything that not a native species, not really here naturally. To make that dividing line. Then, of course, the big question becomes, which ones are the problem ones? What do we need to focus on from in the Department of Environment perspective, from the perspective of protecting our native species and saving our endemic species?
Now, with using the term alien species, I'm really grateful, for your academic perspective to be able to help us to understand the choice of that word, what it relates to. So we're talking about plants and animals.
Yes.
Okay, so the flora and fauna on land and in sea, does it matter where, or just terrestrial?
It doesn't matter, land or sea, either one.
Okay, and since it's plants and animals, would it apply to people too? I mean, alien species?
No.
So
obviously, with everything, there's going to be a the degree of plain reading, as the lawyers like to say, or common sense, to be the say growing up.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So help us to appreciate now the need for this discussion now. What in particular? Well, I guess you should let our listeners know that you representing because you wear many hats.
Yeah. So let's say for simplicity, I'm here for the Department of Environment. I am the manager of our Legislation Implementation and Coordination Unit. I also act as the secretary to the National Conservation Council, but I don't speak for them. I'm here really for the Department of Environment, but to help. We want to help the public understand what's going on, because, as you said, the National Conservation Alien Species Regulations were passed last year and are coming into force now, and this is part of the outreach the Department of Environment is doing to try and make sure everybody knows about these and what's happening and some of the actions that the Department of Environment are taking under these new regulations.
Okay. All right, and this is it too, because we're seeing increasingly. Now, what particularly, are there any particular species that may have been under consideration when we looked at it from the animal kingdom? Start there, and perhaps even just in passing a cursory review of some of the plant species as well.
Yeah. There's a number of species that we're obviously particularly worried about. Something like the lionfish would have been, as everybody on top of everybody else's list as well. Everybody remembers back a couple of years, green iguanas reached the point where we had to start culling them for various reasons. That's the kind of alien species that we're talking about that is causing problems and has to be dealt with. Rats, we've always been calling, usually Environmental Health Bank, but not DOE for this, for people, for poisoning rats. It's another alien invasive species that we've always had problems with. People complained for years about the packs of wild dogs. The Department of Agriculture had to put in place a program to control them. Right now, the Department of Environment, we've been seeing problems, particularly on the sister islands, with feral cats and the depredation that they do to native species, endemic species. Little Cayman, it is particularly the sister islands, rock iguanas, cayman brack. Right now, we're very worried about the state of the brown booby breeding population, how low that has gotten, and the number of losses we are seeing and that are related to feral cats. And so we've had to begin a program over there now for the feral cats. That's what we're doing actively, right this week, and things like that. On the plant side, one of the big issues we have is this plant called Brazilian pepper. You'll be seeing, the public will be seeing some information coming up from the department and very shortly about this. When it shows up, we have to try to remove it because it is incredibly invasive and very toxic and very hard to remove. So we kind of spot treat that when anybody finds it on Grand Cayman or Little Cayman. Unfortunately, on Cayman Brac, it has kind of gotten away, and to the point where sort of that spot treatment doesn't work anymore. It will take a real program to remove it. So it's not just invasive animals that can cause a problem. A lot of invasive plant species in Cayman and around the world cause real problems as well.
And with that now, cats, you reference dogs as well, right? And I'm looking at a couple of the messages that came in recently. We had a couple of calls to the program. People were sharing, their perspective. Well, could we do something about it because it's an issue? Some would say, well, with dogs, we have the various humane societies that look after the dogs, or the various NGOs and entities and charities and whatever, not necessarily humane societies, but we have that. So if we're able to take those dogs in the wild and carry them to these shelters and facilities, why not the same for cats? Why are the cats sort of, and I'll use the word, I just went back to look at it to make sure the person wrote, why are the cats being targeted and not the dogs?
Well, I would suggest, as I said, the wild dogs have been targeted for many years, and absolutely, any of the charity groups, anyone wants to set one up, they're more than welcome to, can absolutely catch the cats, put them into secure and safe home and housing, and get them out of the wild and take care of them there. That's a brilliant thing, the kind of thing that animal lovers could absolutely be doing to make sure that these cats are not stuck out in the wild, living actually quite horrid lives. I mean, the garbage that they're eating, the worms and stuff that they're finding them, it's really not a good life that they're having to live out there in the wild, because that is, that's nature, but not their nature. And so, there is absolutely nothing stopping any of the charities or anyone wanting to set up a new charity from taking proper care of these animals out of the wild, where they will not be a threat to the native species. Okay.
And with respect to cats specifically, on all three islands, start with Grand Cayman. To what extent is it, and I'll use the word problem, you tell me if that's not the word that we want to use, is the wild cat population on Grand Cayman a problem? Is it?
Yeah, it is a problem. It's a problem on all three islands. But what we're looking at, and why we have chosen to start our work and concentrate our work on Little Cayman and then the Brac, is the nature of the problem and sort of the level of it, and where we can make the biggest impact quickest. So as people will recall, we've done work in the past on Little Cayman. That was because of particularly the Sister Islands rock iguanas, trying to make sure that predation on them by invasive species like the cats doesn't get them down to the level of the blue iguanas here in Grand Cayman, where it took a breeding program to get them back from the brink of extinction, and they're still not really well established in the wild. We've now had to start work on Cayman Brac because of the boobies over there. They just horrendously low numbers and reduction that we've seen in there, the number of those birds, and because, as I said, of the evidence of the cat predation on them and the indications that this is one of the things that has really reduced their numbers. And we've had to do this now as the breeding season has started. The breeding season is starting because you have the adults now coming in to lay eggs, sitting on the eggs, not really feeling that they can run away when a predator comes around them, and then soon we'll be seeing the chicks there that are stuck in the ground nests. Then before they're fledged, they can't fly away. They really have no protection from the cats, so that's why we have to be the protection for them.
Now, from the perspective of the numbers of the wild cats on the Brac, do we have an indication of the size of the population? Is it 100? Is it 100,000?
probably somewhere in between that. We don't have an indication, a hard number indication, and that's not actually. We're not looking even at the entire Cayman Brac right now. What we are looking at, where the Department of Environment is working, is just up on the top end of the bluff. The ages where the brown boobies are going to be actively nesting over the next several months, and also not just anywhere there's a booby, where there's the biggest concentration of them, because obviously we have to target resources and put them to the best use. And this is an area where we know we're going to have birds. If we can remove the cats from that area while the birds are nesting, hatching their chicks, the chicks are fledging, we give this generation of birds the best chance they have to survive. And what we saw from last year was, the numbers are overall way down, and the numbers of chicks surviving is way down. And so, we are desperately trying to save this locally endangered native species.
Now, has the culling of the feral cats on the Brac started? Yes, it has.
The work has started this week.
And thus far, do we have an indication of how many we have extracted from the wild population? Do we have a count?
I don't have a count of that right now. I say the work is just starting. Right now the number is going to be very small. But I couldn't put an exact number on it, because anything I say now will be out of date by the end of the day, kind of thing.
All right, and then I guess the public will probably get regular updates in relation to the project and how it's processing. When we start off by aiming that particularly at the Cayman Brac public through social media, because to try and make, and through other local outreach on the Brac, and we'll probably stick to that, because we don't want this to be lost sight of. We're focused on this very small area, that top bush, age of the top of the bluff, and that's where we're working. And so we don't want people misunderstanding where they've heard something is going on and it's nowhere near them. So we're trying to focus on focus attention on what's going on and where the problem is. What's the duration of this project? Is it going on to the end of this month? Going to last throughout the year, or is it indefinite? Do we have sort of a time frame?
This particular project is probably going to last for a couple of months. We're going to have to protect these birds where they're at their most vulnerable, which is a period of several months.
All right, so take us through the process. I mean, we're talking about culling. We saw what it was in relation to the green iguana. What is it going to be like for the cats?
Yeah, so that's that. So obviously, for every animal, it's different. Type of animal, it's different. So it's not going to be. The program we're doing is not like the green iguana cull. We're working with the Department of Agriculture, and we're putting out live traps. The animals are caught and then humanely euthanized by a veterinarian or under veterinarian supervision. We're also doing some rat trapping, in the area as well where we're working, because again, rats are one of those invasive species who around the world are well known for their negative impact on nesting seabirds. They'll disturb the birds, they'll go after the smallest chicks, they'll definitely go after the eggs. And so, we're trying to protect the birds. And it also involves trapping of the rats as well.
Okay. And with respect now to the cats, we'll come back to the rats. Of those that have been captured so far, any sort of tests, autopsies, blood work, any kind of scientific inquiry in relation to what condition they're in, what sort of diseases they may have, what their biology is like, anything at all to sort of, akin to an autopsy to see, what we're dealing with after we have taken them from the wild.
Yeah, we do that with some of the animals. We've done that in the past. So we know, like I said, how sick they are out there in the wild. The high amounts of litter garbage that some of them are eating. But a lot of it depends on where they are, where we're getting them from. On these particular ones, right now we're just very much more focused on establishing the program and getting it up and going before we worry about kind of any extra data we can get from it.
Okay, so we haven't done anything yet with the ones that we captured.
I don't want to say we have or haven't. I can't say for certain.
Okay.
Because if there's a team in the BRAC, I'm calling you in from Grand Cayman. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm trying to err on the side of not giving people misinformation.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
and we don't expect. I wouldn't expect to see anything different from these poor cats up there than any of the other malnourished wild feral cats you see anywhere else in the country.
Right.
Living a hard scrabble life in a habitat that is really not for them, but they're trying to adapt to it when they shouldn't be there. They should be inside someone's home or in a secure area where they can have a safe and good life.
We see the wildcat population on the as well as the Cayman BRAC. Do we have any idea as to how that came about? I mean, did they come on the pirate ships? Were they on those vessels? How do we get to the stage we are now?
All of these alien species came with people.
Mm-hmm.
And from the time of sailing ships, you'd have had cats in the sailing ships.
Mm-hmm.
Pet cats. People would have brought them in as companion, as animals. They got loose. They got turned out when someone didn't want them anymore. They had a litter of cats. No one wanted the kittens. They just turned them loose to fend for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And so, unfortunately, this is a problem that we humans have created. It's been mismanaged. Like I said, from the time of sailing ships, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
We're all responsible for that. But continuing to have these cats out there in the wild, decimating our locally endangered native species, we just can't let that to keep happening.
Mm-hmm.
We have to do this, unfortunately, to protect the native species, in this case particularly the brown boobies.
Mm-hmm. And then with the cats as well, do we expect the program now to extend to other alien species, and if so, would chickens sort of fall in that category?
So chickens is a great topic. I'm sure a lot of your people would love to call in and talk about them.
They have been.
Yeah. The Department of Environment have no plans for chickens at this time. Obviously, there are, a problem. But traditionally, this has been one more for the Department of Agriculture to take the lead on, so I would want to defer to them on that. As everybody can have seen, bird flu, which has been ravaging birds populations, bird stocks around the continental Caribbean, has now probably made it to the Cayman Islands. And so, that's a potential issue right there that the Department of Agriculture are, I know, dealing with. They've got a laser focus on that, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
And then with the cat and this project on the BRAC, is it also then, again, just with the cats, intend at some point to potentially extend it to Little Cayman and or Grand Cayman?
So this is where this is one of those communication problems I'm going to rely on you to help me with your guests. From the Department of Environment perspective, we think of them as very discrete projects. So this particular one is just up there in the bluff. That's all we're working on now.
Uh-huh.
Obviously, we have done in the past, and we'll probably have to continue to do in the future, work on Little Cayman, particularly because of the sister islands rock iguanas over there, but also some of the nesting birds.
Mm-hmm.
But the iguanas, what we're very worried about over there. Over the last year and two, we've had to do head starting on Little Cayman, where we took the iguana hatchlings in, raised them for I think up to 2 years. I had to do it in some cases before we could release them at a size where they could survive the cat predation.
Mm-hmm.
Which is one of the while we try to reduce the cat numbers as well. So yes, people will see over time other initiatives as we try and protect and save other endangered species, and these other initiatives that require removal of invasive species for various reasons while we try and save our native species.
Mm-hmm.
It won't be this particular project from a perspective, but it will be other projects by the Department of Environment targeting invasive species.
Okay.
Like I said, the Brazilian pepper, we had a team out, I want to say a week ago, removing a spot where it had been found in one of the islands. I think it was in Grand Cayman, actually.
The Brazilian pepper.
Yeah. Again, one of the plants that is a real problem, and that we have to. We literally tell people if you see it and find it. Like this will be coming out. We're telling people if you see it and find it, call us. Don't try and do it yourself,
right.
because it is such a nasty plant. It's basically made in plum plus.
Yeah. So worse than Manzanil.
Yes, from what I've heard, it is.
Okay. So sticking with plants for a second, that green invasive one, what's how you call it?
The scavola, you mean?
Scavola, that one that you see people got a nasty habit now planting close to the water to kind of take in more. Any plans on taking that out?
So for us in active plans, no.
Well, why not? I mean, that's an invasive thing.
It absolutely is, and the idea would be to remove that. That's actually, I want to say, a Hawaiian species of scavola that we take into Florida, put into nurseries, and then brought in here, and try and replace it with the native scavola, which would normally grow in those areas. The inkberry, some of your older listeners will probably recognize it as. At least that's the name that I've heard them call it. I've heard it called. But again, that would require a proper project to do, because if you can imagine going down to these areas and just ripping all this plant out, you've suddenly left a whole lot of just bare exposed sand to get washed away.
That's for you. I mean,
requires a properly thought out, cohesive plan, which is why we unfortunately do it in small steps at a time.
Okay, so I'll say this to you, and probably not with the same level of respect as the gentleman that said it to me today when he was asking what's coming up, and I was saying, well, we hope to have you guys on talking about alien species, and he wouldn't give me, the sound bite to replay, because I think it would be, very colourful. I think it would have, went on nicely. But he said basically, he had an experience a couple of times in a couple of properties where it's being planted deliberately and intent. Now you know more about these things than I do, but his contention is that this thing will grow into the water through the beach and the sand, and then it'll go right in. Is that true? I mean, it grows rapidly. It's pretty sturdy.
It does grow rapidly. It's very sturdy. It won't grow into the water. It'll definitely go down to the water's edge.
To the water's edge, yeah.
And depending on how erosions or whatever's happening there, you could absolutely have spots where it's sea and then this, because the site hasn't sort of died back yet. Absolutely, yeah. It's one of those plants that's not ideal to have around.
Yeah. Well, he, I guess, put it in a very succinct way, and basically his allegation was that there are one or two coastal properties where that's been deliberately planted, and it would impede and inhibit passage. Maybe I put it very diplomatically.
I understand what you're saying. Yes.
And so, I think if he was in the gentleman that he probably, endeavors to be, he would probably, take what he called a cutlass, and help to do some landscaping.
Yeah, that'd be nice. And so that's this is the thing. Once anything gets off of your property where you put it and where you want it, it becomes a problem for other people. And this is what we've had to say as a country. We can't take this anymore.
Right. Yeah. Well, I would probably say to you, if it was just me you talking and not here on air as the host of the show, I would say to you that he said to me, boy, if the government got to do it, it's not going to happen anytime soon. But I won't say that he said that, not publicly. We got a break to take, so two quick things. I know you're always a gentleman, man, and a scholar. If you have more time, we can continue after if you wish.
Absolutely.
Great.
I can stay on, no problem.
And we want to ask you in relation to a comment that was made on the show this morning, for the record, where someone shared that there was a really terrible, horrible rat population on the back, as you shared earlier. All right, so you're addressing that as well. But the concerns have been expressed numerous times, numerous places, that if cats eat rats, if you remove the cats, then the rats can get a foothold. Can we talk about that?
Absolutely. That's actually a very good topic to discuss. If you want to do it now or after the break, whichever you prefer.
Okay, let's do it after the break, because I don't want to interrupt you All right, we're going to head to the break. Esther is still here. You go on to YouTube and you see two handsome gentlemen. One is me. Well, you figured out the other one. Esther Ebanks. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
But I do have some questions. A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
Listening to Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman.
Your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Zollins. The Department of Sports has hired one staff member and promoted another to expand and strengthen its East End and West Bay football programs. East End's former temporary assistant coach, Mr. Darren Golab, is now employed full-time as the district's head coach, and Coach Dion Brandon heads up the West Bay football programs and is vice president of the Cayman Islands Football Association. In international news, Justin Roiland, co-creator of TV program Rick and Morty, is facing domestic violence charges stemming from an incident with a girlfriend in 2020. Details of the 2-year-old case were first made public on Thursday. However, the charging document that describes the alleged crimes remains sealed. He pleaded not guilty to 2 charges in 2020 and on Thursday appeared in court for a pre-trial hearing. If found guilty, Mr. Roiland could face up to 7 years in prison. The U.S. government has announced name changes for 5 places whose designations included a racist term for Native American women. The sites are in the states of California, North Dakota, Tennessee, and Texas. The decision came after a year-long process to remove the racial slur from federal use, the government said. The sites are the last of almost 650 locations selected by the Department of the Interior to be renamed. These are your headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Zollins.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette brought to you by the Ministry of District Administration and Lands. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
Born in Creek, Cayman Brac on the 25th of September 1939, Henry Mansfield Connolly was the third of 8 children for Henry Kitchener and Olive Connolly. Following a 30-year career with National Bulk Carriers, he was one of few Brackers who worked with Cayman Energy Company doing the ship-to-ship oil transfers off the island in the 1980s. Following a medical injury, he retired from sea and started his own plumbing engineer company, C&H Plumbing, which he owned for 16 years. Prior to relocating to Grand Cayman, he was a volunteer during hurricane emergencies, assisting with the safety of the elderly in his district. Mr. Connolly was one of the original band members of the famous Brac Beach Boys, a member of the Sister Islands Veterans and Seaman Society, and also a member of the Seafarers Association on Grand Cayman. In 2003, he was one of 500 Seamen Medal honorees for their contribution to the Southwell years.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette brought to you by the Ministry of District Administration and Lands. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
Are you a Caymanian student graduating or graduated from a government high school and hoping to pursue undergraduate studies at any of the world's most prestigious universities with government financial support? Then you may qualify for the new Government High Schools Scholar Award, which provides 2 students with up to $100,000 in annual tuition funding. Visit the Ministry of Education website at www.gov.ky/education to learn more about this latest opportunity to reach your full potential.
New year, new arrivals at Tomlinson Furniture and the Mattress Gallery. Modern and stylish bedroom sets are up to 20% off. Save up to $600 on Beauty Rest Black mattress sets and iComfort mattress sets, including adjustable bases. Our Palliser shipment of quality sofas, sectionals and sleepers has also arrived with great family-friendly steam-resistant fabrics. Discover all the new arrivals, including plush beanbags. Save now until January 31st, only at Tomlinson Furniture and the Mattress Gallery, corner of Hospital and Walkers Road.
The office's dermatologist, Dr. Wayne Porter, will be taking appointments from January 12th to the 21st at his Crew Road Clinic. Appointment slots are limited. Whether you're seeking advanced skincare, Botox, filler, cosmetic skin enhancements, or simply looking to reduce wrinkles, Dr. Porter offers a full-service dermatology and dermatological surgery practice. For more information, email dr.porterkman@gmail.com or call 946-9020 to book your appointment today. That is 946-9020.
They say variety is the spice of life. And that's why at Subway, we're introducing the new Boneless Hot Sub. Say what? The premium sub brings new ingredients like spicy breaded boneless chicken, French's crispy fried onions, and buffalo wing sauce, bringing a zesty and flavorful experience with every bite. Add some of your favorite veggies, cheese, and ranch sauce of your choice of freshly baked bread for the ultimate boneless hot sub. For a little spice in your life, try the new Boneless Hot Sub from Subway.
So good and tasty.
And make it a meal with a drink and chips or cookies. Subway. Eat fresh.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thanks for joining us in the studio, Mr. S.D. Ebanks. So we're going to continue our discussion with him, as the show progresses. But for right now, we have Mr. John Bothwell from the Department of Environment joining us via the phone. And we're talking about the alien species and the new regulations that are about to come into force or are in force. So, John, thank you very much for holding on.
Hi, Sterling. Hi, Esther. Thanks for letting me stay on.
Okay, no, I appreciate it, man. And then the alien species regulations, just in case people are just joining us, they're now in effect.
They have been passed, yes.
Okay.
But we know it's going to take, quite a while for everybody to come to grips with this. They don't necessarily take effect right away.
Mm-hmm.
There's a sort of a cascading period. Certain parts of it, in fact, now certain parts come into effect.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say early next month, and then other parts of it come into effect a few months later.
Right.
So we're going to be hearing about this for quite a while. People are, because we do want people to. We know that people are going to take a while to know what the rules are over the species that they can no longer have, what has to be done with them, and particularly, the species that we don't want people bringing in to the country either, in the future or again.
All right. So just before the break, we had asked, in reference to one of the callers on the show this morning for the record with Mr. Hart and others who shared, well, if you remove the cats, there's a pretty horrific rat population on the back. You did reference that, and you said there will be some trapping to remove the rats as well. But if you remove the cats, then the rats will, what does it say? When the cat's away, the mice will play.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, and that saying is actually a really good way to put it. It's when the cat is away, the mice will play. When the cat shows up, the mice go and hide, but the cat doesn't actually kill a lot of the rats.
Mm-hmm.
Rats and mice, their population, all the indications are that they're, came on around the world, really this is global issues, are driven more by the availability of food.
Mm-hmm.
Food goes up, most rat populations explode, they kind of overeat and then die back down until the next explosion of food. They're not predator controlled.
Mm-hmm.
When people have done work, including some of the work we've done in Little Cayman, looking at what the particularly the feral cats, are actually eating,
Mm-hmm.
the amount of rodent bones in them, very, very low. It's just not a prime food for them.
Okay.
What they do love are small lizards, like in the little caiman case. That becomes a problem of the baby sister island rock iguanas.
Mm-hmm.
We all also know that they would love to take little fuzzy chicks, which in the case of the brack, this is then the problem for the brown boobies nesting on the on the top of the bluff.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
So the concern.
So,
okay.
If there's a rat population that has to be addressed directly,
Mm-hmm.
if we caught 20 cats and put them out someplace, you might see less rats around, but you haven't actually got rid of the rats. They're still there causing a problem.
Okay.
So yeah.
Now, there are also contention from some quarters that and maybe you can help us to understand this, if someone decided, maybe they just love cats in particular, but they would go and I'll use the word, if that's not appropriate, you tell me, in their minds, rescue these cats. So they'll start feeding them, they'll collect them, and they'll take care of them, they'll get them taken to the vet and do stuff to them. Is that illegal, or will that be, if it isn't now, will that become illegal under the new regulations?
They are more than welcome to continue rescuing those cats, take them into the vet,
Mm-hmm.
and keep them. Absolutely no problem.
Okay.
What they can't do is then put these invasive species out into the wild. That's where the cats are causing a problem. That's where the cats are having problems.
Okay.
They want to take them in and take care of them. Excellent. That's great stuff. But they cannot then get released back out into the wild to continue to prey on our native species.
So they can go rescue them, take them into their homes, their yards, feed them, care for them, but they can't then, once they get them, let's just say, rehabilitated and spayed, neutered and what have you, they can't take them back out into the wild.
No, because they're just reintroducing an invasive species that's going to go back out there and keep eating native species.
Okay.
We're asking everybody, just keep your pet, keep your animals contained to your property. That's just good, responsible pet ownership. And like you said, spay and neuter them.
Okay.
You know, that's the root cause of so many of the problems in Cayman around the world. Spay and neuter your pets. It's better for the animals. They have a better life, and you don't run the risk then of having invasive species, adding to the invasive species problems, and the humane animal problems around the world either.
Okay.
And Cayman.
And if we accurately recall or understood the comments from one of our callers the other day, the allegation was that if a veterinarian was to, sort of treat these wild feral cats, so if someone picked them up, took them there, that would be an offense and the veterinarian could lose the license. Is that true?
No, the actual treatment is not the offense. It is the release.
Okay.
Now, the regulations cover a lot more than just cats. There are prohibited species on there where these species are things that are going to be worse than cats, where people are not allowed to have them. So if you think of the illegal dogs regulations, which we've had for many years, there's certain species that agriculture feels are just not safe to be heard around people. We have the same thing with certain species of animals and plants. Those are the ones where what we're asking is, if anybody has them or comes across them, including vets coming across them, let us know, because these plants or animals, in case of vets, would be animals, need to be removed before they cause a problem. One of the things on the list is jungle fowl. This is, think of them as the proto chickens, but they're still wild ones. They are unfortunately liked for chicken fighting. We don't want people bringing them in and them getting loose and then adding to our feral chicken problem by getting.
Do we have them here now?
Chickens.
Those jungle fowls?
This is one of those ones where, to the best of our knowledge, no. But I have heard of some of the bird watchers who are much better at eating birds than me, who are concerned about this. That some of the feral chickens they're seeing, make them look like the descriptions they've heard or what they've seen of jungle fowl.
Yeah.
So Let's make sure we don't get them in by putting them on the list of stuff that we don't want.
And let's go back as we talk about, the alien species, and you reference the illegal dogs and the regulations that sort of prohibit some of these.
Mm-hmm.
I've had, today's Friday, so I've had an interrupted week. 2 days, I had work Monday, Wednesday, Friday, so I had 2 days sort of hiatus, right? So in that time, I had 3 conversations with 3 separate people as a result of their, let's put it nicely, their interactions. I like the word you use just now, these dogs not safe around people. And all 3 separate independent discussions with these 3 men have expressed the same view, that they thought those regulations were either A, been disbanded, or B, not enforced, and that it's not illegal to possess these prohibited species, these breeds, that they're being treated and done by vets and the like. Is that the case, or is it, as you said, that these are still quote-unquote illegal dogs?
So this is what I'm going to have to admit. I can't give you the definitive answer. That's the Department of Agriculture rule. To the best of my knowledge, the law is still there on the books. But I'm not a dog person. I gotta admit, so I can't. A dog person said, I am not the Department of Agriculture, so I can't tell you the full details of that law and how it's applied and worked.
Okay.
I think we can all recognize a lot of the problems that they were having. It was again, like everything else, it's the people more than the poor animals. And so I'm not going to try and identify any particular species
fair enough.
Crossbreeding. So, but yeah,
Could
as
I?
far as I know, it's still in the books.
Okay.
And anybody questioning it, Department of Agriculture, I'm sure would be happy to talk to them about the issues.
If it's okay, I'm going to publicly ask you, and I undertake to do the same thing, right? I'm going to ask you in your capacity as you're speaking to us about the alien species, and since we referenced the illegal dogs, make your inquiries. I got to do the same formally and come up with it, and I'll come back to you and say this is what I found, and we can compare notes, and then we can decide the best course of action, how to advise the public. Now, I have, just for the record, have asked this question numerous times to the Department of Agriculture over the years as a result of incidents where people have shared. Sadly, one lady was, I'll use the word mauled. She's out for an evening walk. You can see the horrific scars on her body still, right? Not far from her neighborhood. And this happens in other jurisdictions, but it happens here. So if I could, and if you say, well, listen, I'll take a pass, that's fine, tell me no. But respectful, ask you through your office under the alien species regulations to inquire. I'll do the same, and then we'll chat again. Would that be fine?
Absolutely. It won't be under. We won't ask them under the alien species regs. We'll just straight up ask them.
No. Okay.
We can ask them as well.
Yeah, I don't intend to ask on that, but just since we're talking about it, and the reason why I referenced. Sorry, go ahead, sir.
We're not quite one government, but we do try.
No, we're not one government, but increasingly I begin to see a lot of stupidness in our country that we accept, and nobody seems to have the courage, as Mr. Maker says, to do anything about it, right? Just like we see with a lot of invasive species, including people sometimes. But that's just me saying that, right? So the reason why I reference that publicly is that when you talk about the jungle fowl, there are a number of people who are wonderful animal lovers, and they love dogs. I can think of a handful right off the bat who love dogs more than they love themselves and love others, right? And they've said, you look at certain dogs, you can tell that this dog that was been, over the time bred with this dog, and they can look and see. I don't know that necessarily I have that sort of expertise, and I say that to share that they have identified that this dog has a bit of that dog that falls under this prohibited species. And not only does it change the physical appearance of the dog, but its behavior. All right. So that's kind of what I wanted to ask you and say it publicly. So our good friends, Mr. Estwick and others at DOA, at our Agriculture Department, we can look up for another email. Now, Mr. Bothwell, I recognize that you had that meeting you stepped away from. There was a caller. We did say to the caller that we weren't talking about it. The caller had a question about spare guns and the like. We will try to maybe invite that on. But if someone were having questions, whatever they were, about spare guns and spare gun usage, where would we direct them? Would that come to the Department of Environment?
Yep, that one comes to us. Anybody got any questions about spare guns or really anything else DOE related, just give us an email, doe@gov.ky. We are more than happy to try and give you whatever answers we can. And yeah, whatever anybody questions about anything, just doe@gov.ky.
Okay.
They can give us a call to 949-8469, but we don't always have the right person in the office to take the phone call. So the email is best, doe@gov.ky. And of course, our website, just www.doe.ky, has a fair bit of information on there. But obviously we can't always think of everything anyone wants to ask, so please drop us an email.
Certainly appreciate you sharing with us as we have this discussion now, and recognizing again that you have another meeting, and thank you, sir, for stepping away from that to address this issue. Anything else you want to maybe repeat, maybe you want to remind us, maybe you want to share outright?
No, just to thank you for having us on. We know that this is an emotive issue for a lot of people, and we know that these new regulations cover a lot of ground, so we know we're doing. This is why we're doing this public outreach. So thank you for having us on, and I want to encourage everybody to go to the national. Anybody who wants to see the regulations, go straight to the National Conservation Council website. It's conservation.ky, and right there in the news section there'll be a section about the new invasive species regs with both the regs themselves, so people can get a copy of it and know, what the rules say, but also a lot more information. I think we've got it. We have a set of frequently asked questions that's going 9 pages now, with information that might help to answer some of these questions that people have or are going to have. And if they still have questions, drop us an email. You're on the website. There'll be an email link right there, and we're happy to answer anybody's questions like that. And we're happy to come talk to any groups or talk to anybody about this.
Well, thank you very much for taking time to share with us. And as this, particular program continues, please look to us to help to, inform our listeners and let us know how we can be of continued value to your department.
Thanks, Ron. We do appreciate what you and the show on Radio Cayman does to keep everybody in the know. And similarly, if anything comes up on the show that you have questions for, we're happy to come back on the next day and help you and your listeners get to the bottom of it all.
All right, really appreciate it, man. I wish you a wonderful, very enjoyable weekend. If you can find time to get out on a boat, even better.
That's the plans. I'm waiting for the little bit better weather.
What do you say? A good day fishing is better than a bad day working, or a bad day fishing better than a good day working? Any day.
A bad day fishing is better than a good day of work.
All the best to you, man. All the best.
Okay, thanks. Love you too.
Thanks very much. Mr. John Bothwell over at the Department of Environment, and in the studio as the Ebanks. John is always a very amenable, intelligent, eloquent gentleman who shares, not just diplomatically, but informatively. And I always enjoy listening. I learn, more and more each time we discuss. So the feral cats in the back. But Mr. Ebanks, this is what dialogue and discussion is about. The more we have this level of discourse, the more that we appreciate the need, as you had said at the outset, for unification. We need to come together, at least be able to sit and reason, and then decide how we should move forward. Before I ask you something in relation to consensus, use that word, anything you want to jump in and say?
Well, definitely for environment-wise, I would definitely say let's all do our part and try to keep our eyes open, try to find out, just keep the DOE informed, and definitely do our part in helping out our own island, because again, this is our home. Just like the planet Earth, it's our home. Do you really want to see your home get destroyed, or do you want to do something and keep it clean?
That's just it, right? The idea. And the reason why I tossed that word consensus is that words are important. One of our listeners messaged and said, life and death is in the tongue. We understand that words can encourage, words can be very cutting. People can say things in a way. But how many times I wonder if we look at what we're doing and just by itself, well, let's find a consensus. That sounds good. Everyone in agreement. But I wonder if in today's world, especially the last 5 years or less, particularly, if we're looking more towards consensus as a way to hide behind responsibility, as opposed to saying, well, there's 5 in a room, and 3 out of 5 is the majority, so we're going to go with that. So we got its new practice now with this consensus building. But if that one lone voice, that single voice, says, wait a minute, I don't know, let's rethink this. Is that single voice quelled? Is that person ostracized? Is the person being, just contrarian? Or is it that, we're nurturing that one? What's your view?
Well, when it comes to that type of conversation, when it comes to like discussing ideas and majority vote apparently overrules that one person, well, do you still give that one person a chance to at least express their thoughts of it? Because there's always two sides to a coin.
Yeah, I mean, I think back to the Jim Jones, story, as it were.
Yeah, drinking the Kool-Aid.
Yeah, and we all probably saw the documentary, the miniseries, perhaps we heard about it. If there was, one person there who said, hey, this is not a good idea. I mean, the consensus was, yeah, we all drink the Kool-Aid. Yeah. All right? Now, people will say, well, that's insensitive, you weren't there. But there were agreement from what we understand from the historical record. People weren't forced. Nobody injected them. Nobody held any kind of weapon enforced, through power, persuasion, whatever was that occurred. They, under some means, voluntarily did it. Right?
That is true. Again, but as you were saying, words do have power.
Yeah.
And words can sound comforting. Words can be very much misleading. In which that particular story, they were quite misleading at a point.
Very much so. Manipulative.
At first the idea was, you're trying to create this small utopia, but the mastermind behind the plan obviously had different intentions.
Yeah.
So you usually have to try to pick these things out with a fine comb every now and then. Don't just be persuaded by the dream.
Yeah, I think of a court, the highest court in the land, and there's a judge, who presides over the 5, the 7, the 9, whatever the panel is at that time. And, there's a court decision, there's a majority view, but there is maybe one or two, sometimes just one, and that's giving a dissenting view. Sometimes that single view is as important, or even sometimes more informative, and helps others look at it. It's not going to be the decision that is going to determine the outcome of the case, but that dissenting view. In the House of Lords way back when, I guess Lord Denning at times had that dissenting view. So why I say that is that the consensus sometimes in the Jim Jones scenario, no man, I wish there was someone there as eloquent and persuasive and charismatic who say, hey, let's not do this.
Yeah, someone that can give the positive aspect of it, because
exactly,
very hard story to have heard.
And the reason why I've been sort of led to read a number of things where they, again, hopefully Mr. Mickey doesn't mind. I've been encouraged by his constant call for, we need courage in our country to do the right thing. We know what we need to do, many of us. We know our doctors have shared it, our spouses, our siblings. Hey, don't eat so much of that. Start exercising a little more, get some sleep. The good things for us, we know, but we don't do it.
Yeah, right? It comes to like a subconscious point where, again, you want to do this, but it depends on that individual's or that family or whatever the household might be. It just depends on their situation, because again, I myself would love to be working out as much as I can and eating as much as I can between meals and whatnot, but certain situations kind of hinder you from doing that.
So we're speaking to SD Ebanks. We do have a caller. Hey, welcome. Good afternoon. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, Sterling. How are you?
Very well. How are you? Good to hear from you again.
Again?
Yeah. I heard from you on Wednesday. I didn't get a chance to listen to you yesterday, but, always a pleasure to hear from you.
Oh, y'all gonna soon take me off the air, huh?
If you would accept the invitation, we would actually put you in the chair in the studio and you can help us to host. Now, that would be a good one.
Boy, that'd be the day, boy. I wouldn't be able to go back home.
Well, listen, you let me know when. We got a chair for you with a microphone and a headset.
I wouldn't be able to go back home, Sterling. Believe me, I'd have more stones thrown at me. And good afternoon to your guest.
Good afternoon.
I want to say that talking about courage, Sterling. Our biggest problem is here that we is coward. We are a bunch of coward people that live here, especially my Caymanians, the few that we have left. And why I say my Caymanians and why I say the few is because if we want to see anything change in Cayman, we have to come together, because the other ones are not going to come with us, because then they are getting the island how they want to get the island. And the few Caymanians that we have left, we just cowards. We just so afraid what this one got to think of you and this one got to say of you. Hey, you live here all your life practically, and now all of a sudden you are a coward. No, man, you got to stand up, and you're married to any one out of your jurisdiction. You got to make them know, hey, I may be married to you, but I am standing up for my country. I may be in a relationship with you, but I am standing up for my country. You either stand with me or you go back where you come from. But anyhow, I never called for that. Yesterday they were talking about cats and dogs in Cayman Rock.
And it wasn't even raining.
It wasn't even raining. And I can correct me. I think someone said they have like 11 cats at their residence that they're taking care of.
I don't remember the number, but the person did reference on Wednesday that, they have a number of cats, but I don't recall the number.
I believe I heard 11. Well, more power to them. Sterling, I don't have a cat, and I don't have a dog, and I don't have a chicken. Okay, and I am having more nuisance of these pets in my yard than I'm having human beings. I'd rather someone to come right down and steal one of my plants than those dogs and cats and chicken to come and do what they do in my yard. I see a cat that lived next door came into my yard on numerous occasions and still doing it. Go and dig my gravel and do what he have to do. Walk out his own yard, walk into my yard and do his number 2 and walk back into his yard. Darling, nobody not telling me this is what I see plus what my camera see. And it's the same identical cat.
Maybe that cat's well trained. I just...
That or the grass is greener on your side.
Yeah. No, the gravel is wetter.
I got partial gravel in my yard. I got partial gravel and partial grass. And I try to do the farming. And believe me, all of them having a ball game in my yard. So anybody that have animals, they should make sure they can secure them, that it will be a nuisance to someone else. You can love all the animals you want. I have nothing against that, but you make sure you got a place to put them and they are secure and they're not a nuisance to nobody else. I am not into the animal. I like to see them at a far distance because I can't take nastiness. And I don't want no cat up on my table or up on my refrigerator top or in my bed. And that's what cat does. And nobody can tell me that their cat is so trained and so teamed that they don't do this and they do that. Oh, please spare me. A cat will go where a man can't go.
Hey, some cats. That's one cool cat.
Well, I will leave you with that, and if I feel like I'm going to call back before school time, I probably will, but I want to hear you talking.
Thank you for listening, and hopefully we'll chat with you. Have a wonderful afternoon, okay?
Yeah, you too.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right. Is that break to take, Ms. Susan? Esther Ebanks going to continue with us. We'll have a good conversation.
By far.
Couple of things we can talk about, anything else, but I was thinking, education, employment, and maybe the perspective of the youth. I've shared it a number of times, very inspired by Charles Anthony Powell Jr.'s presentation in the House of Commons, and I thought
that was a very good one.
If every single parent in particular don't pay attention. Anyway, let's talk about that. 949-8037, 949-6990, 1-800-534-8255. It may be toll free, it may not be. You may get through, you might not. But you will only know if you try, and if you don't, let us know. If you do, well, let us know too. All right, stay tuned for Talk Today.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza. Open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointment.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Busy, busy, busy. Feel like there's not just enough hours in the day. Savannah Pharmacy, service to make your life easier. Now you can WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. And pickup is just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays. WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. Savannah Pharmacy, wholesome values with modern conveniences.
Explore your history. Explore your land. Explore your sister islands, the ultimate staycation experience. Your culture, your freedom, the land that time forgot isn't gone. It's your sister islands.
Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
Show your Cayman pride this National Heroes Day. Join us in Heroes Square at 9 a.m. on Monday, January 23rd to honor those who have served our country through volunteerism and charitable services. As always, the event is free and open to all. The festivities will also be aired live on Radio Cayman and streamed on Cayman Islands Government YouTube channel.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us. And in the studio, SD Ebanks is with us. Caller online, Miss Susan. As we go to the phones, SD. Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, Mr. Sterling. How are you?
I am healthy, blessed. God is gracious, and I'm telling you, man, I say this publicly. He even takes care of sinners, so I appreciate His mercy and grace. You know, how are you, sir?
Thank you. And you got a guest with you today?
I do. SD Ebanks. He's got some time off his, work schedule, and anybody that has an interest in the radio, if we can encourage him, always good to learn and listen.
Okay, I might know him by his name, but I guess I know his mama or his daddy.
Yeah, you probably do, yeah. I'm sure. Yeah. You know, he is belong to his mama who belongs to her parents and their parents. So yeah, man, good people.
Okay, no problem. Well, welcome to him too. Mr. Sterling, I want you to bear with me a little bit. I know that you're tired of hearing me.
When I do, I'll let you know.
Same horse all the time. But the old people say a patient man ride a donkey. You know, you heard that before. But sometimes, even if you beat the donkey to death, he not moving. But Mr. Sterling, I just came from town. And when I am going to Georgetown now, from time I leave my house, even before I leave my house, I have to pray about it a day or so before I go. And when I get on the road, even if I am driving or somebody is driving me, I have to pray hard. Mr. Sterling, it ain't getting no better on the road. I know people is hearing me every day and they tell me I need to hush, but that's my job. Something concerns me, This is the government radio station, and I'm a part of the Cayman Islands. A good old Salt from Georgetown, and my mama named me George from Georgetown. So I can talk until Brett leave my body. There's something affecting me in my country. Mr. Sterling, it looks to me like the people that is living here is taking right and making it wrong and making wrong right. And they're happy and contented with it. And it looks to me like they want you and me to accept it as well. Mr. Sterling, I was sitting down and doing some maths because I'm not good on maths. I hate maths. I can add 2 and 2 is 6, but I would say, and I'm talking about the Caymanian people themselves, not the people that come here and get citizenship. I mean those that are born here, and that is biblical because the Bible says wherever you're born, that is your nationality, where you're from. But I want to say that I would figure 68 to 72% of the Caymanian people are very stressed out, very sad, very depressed. The young people, especially, that can't get a job and seeing other people come to their country and can get a job and working happily, the Caymanians are stressed out and they're very sad and depressed and they need help from other entities, different, maybe the government can put stuff in place. I know the government got some in place, but like giving the Caymanians first preference in their job, because I am hearing this constantly. You don't have experience. And I want somebody to tell me, how do you get experience if you don't work and do it? You know, and that is the thing. People are coming here. I know a lot of people come here and have criminal records from their home. How they get in here? Somebody else can answer that. I got my own opinion, but somebody else can answer that. They get in here. They're working in here. They're happy living in the island. You don't know who living next to you. I don't know. Well, thank God I know who living next to me. I know that. Thank God for that. I am blessed in that area. But, Mr. Sterling, something needs to be put in place for the Cayman Islands to be and remain. He has founded it upon the seas and established it upon the water. Mr. Sterling, something needs to be done, and we asking the government to just look a little deeper into it, the situation for the Caymanian people. I'm going to finish now, Mr.
No, I do want to ask you a question, if you will.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah, in relation to what you're saying, you say something needs to be done. So just 2 questions. What would you suggest that thing is that needs to be done? Very specifically, any ideas, any suggestions?
Well, Mr. Stern, I was just saying that the government could get together and put things in place for the Caymanians, give them first preference, help them do some kind of program for the young people that...
Right, so give us some examples. Let's go on the premise that, people say about it, some of the politicians, can't attend, don't know, right? So let's tell them. Give us some examples. What do they do and how do they do it?
Sterling, I got my opinions. Other people got their opinions.
Yes, sir.
But I would really like to keep mine to myself. I won't hear other people's opinions.
Okay,
and
well...
I don't got the answers, I don't have the answers at all. But I know that they can put programs in place for the young people.
Yes, sir.
That is not
Yes,
working. They got good jobs. Give them opportunities. Give them opportunities. Caymanian students that coming home from school, I know many that has went overseas on government scholarships and come back and don't have a job Give them first preferences. All I can hear, they don't have the experience. And then when they do get a chance, they bully them, the other higher-ups, their other bosses, which is not Caymanians, bully them in order for them to leave so that they can bring in their other people. But Mr. Sterling, I won't run away from that. I'm just touching on these spots.
All right.
I would like to say, Mr. Sterling.
Yes, sir.
That we need, the Caymanian society need to get back to the old time way, helping and looking out for one another. But like I said in my first opening statement, we are taking wrong for right and right for wrong, and we are happy about it. We are very happy. And those that can do something, not doing anything. So I don't know what's going to happen to this young generation. I feel sad for my country when I look around what is happening. But some people going to get killed on the road. It's happening all the time. But the speeding, the racing, because the people are stressed. Buses, cars, everything. Where will it end? Cayman wasn't like this. I am so sad, Mr. Sterling. I don't pray more in my life than when I got to go on the road. You have a good evening. I would like to hear the opinion of some other people.
But thank you for sharing that. We will take the break, Esther, if you want to weigh in. And let's also invite others. The caller recognizes something needs to be done. Let's see if we can suggest possible things that could be considered. They may not necessarily be things that became done now. They may have been things that should have been done. Maybe it's not too late to do, but who knows? All right, we're going to pause and take that break. I'm told it's free for all. 1-800-534-8255. Check it out. If you're in the International Space Station and you're listening, call and see if you get through. Maybe you're up the beach at Barcas and you're checking it out. Give us a call. Or you're in the black and the buff, do it so. All right, 949-837, 949-6990 or the toll-free line. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
When you're craving something big, something tasty that gives you that lip-smacking satisfaction, something that hits the spot, there is nothing better than a footlong from Subway.
It's pretty tasty.
Filling and full of flavor. Try our new sweet onion steak teriyaki with a twist. Or the classic chicken teriyaki. Top it with green pepper, onions, cheese, and that sweet onion teriyaki sauce, all piled on your favorite artisanal bread. Satisfy that craving with a footlong from Subway.
Fresh, delicious, tasty, meaty.
Let's make it a meal with a drink, chips, and cookies. There is nothing better than a footlong from Subway.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza, open Monday to Friday 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointment.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
J and Money touching down again. Now you can send your US dollars at any location on island, including the BRAC. It's easy. Just walk with your US dollars. No need to convert to CI. This is another convenient service available at J and Money. They always find a way to make it easier and hassle-free. So remember, when you need to send your money and you only have US dollars, don't ever think of what to do. Just head straight to any J and Money location and send your money the fast, convenient, and affordable J and Money. J and Money, touching down again. J and Money, ranga to la friend.
New year, new arrivals at Tomlinson Furniture and the Mattress Gallery. Modern and stylish bedroom sets are up to 20% off. Save up to $600 on Beauty Rest Black mattress sets and iComfort mattress sets, including adjustable bases. Our Palliser shipment of quality sofas, sectionals, and sleepers has also arrived with great family-friendly steam-resistant fabrics. Discover all the new arrivals, including plush beanbags. Save now until January 31st, only at Tomlinson Furniture and the Mattress Gallery, corner of Hospital and Walkers Road.
It's time to update your information. If you've recently changed your mailing address, phone number, or email address, please let your Water Authority customer service team know. Remember, non-receipt of a bill does not constitute a release from liability for payment. Visit our website, www.waterauthority.ky, to download and fill out our customer information update form. Or you can contact our customer service team at info@waterauthority.ky or call 949-2837.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon, welcome back, and thanks for joining us. And in the studio, SD Ebanks shares his company with us. Really appreciate it, SD. Really appreciate it. Couple of callers on the line. Let's go to the phones. Alrighty. Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thanks for calling. Buenas tardes.
Good afternoon.
Good
afternoon to you, Sterling.
And to you, Mr. Mickey, sir.
And to your guest here, esteemed guest here. I believe I know the young man, but as George said, my friend, Mama or Papa or Godfather, I don't know ages. But I was listening to Mr. George's thing there. What is the gist of what he's saying is it has to be mandated. It takes the courage. I often say courage, that word, Winston Churchill's famous word, to do these things, to put our people first. People who are generational, I disagree with him. Doesn't matter where you're born, as long as your parents are Caymanians, their grandparents, their great-grandparents, and you're a generational Caymanian. But that is it. That's a part of the whole thing. It's not many around. We have to put it as a mandated thing, mandatory. Put our people first. We can do it. Other countries do it. There's no reason why we can't. When this thing came about human rights in the Constitution, I was very skeptical about it. I always was with that terminology. Human rights. What does it really mean? Who has the right? Who has the wrong? And we know this, especially with United Nations. This is an organization I have very, very little use for, very little respect for. I say this openly. Very little respect for them at all. I agreed with President Reagan when he said United States should get out of that organization. It has only cost the U.S. a lot of lives with all those United Nations wars, Korean War, the Vietnam War, and so forth, and a lot of money, billions and billions and billions of dollars has cost them. And we see they're very left-leaning and very soft with terror. Anyway, I won't go into that. Let's leave that alone. Who can get the gist of what I feel about them? And I'm not going to change my mind about that. So it's no use anybody talking to me about looking at it, mister. They did a rethinking United Nations. No. Forget about that. I bear that. That's my idea of them. Mr. Boswell is on. I'm so glad that he came on. A very good person. Genuine Caymanian and so forth. But I disagree with things he said. One of the things he did say that comes to mind is that the cats don't eat the rats. No, they don't really. That's not their main diet at all or anything like that. But they do kill them. Cats are natural born hunters. Anybody who has ever kept cats, which is hundreds and thousands of Caymanians, know that they will kill, and they're very adept at it. They're masters at that. That is why they've got to stop playing games. Got to stop playing games. We had cats set in colonies to cull the green iguanas. No one can deny this. So it's no good anybody getting on the radio now and denying what I just said. We had cats set in colonies all over. I can name you where the colonies were.
Mm-hmm.
And because I have a couple of cats from those colonies, wonderful cats. And that's what they were set to do, and they're very adept at killing iguanas. They can climb trees. Dogs will kill them too, but they can't climb trees, but cats can. I have one little cat here, very well known at the people of St. James. In fact, people come there just to see her and do the tour, just to be with her and so forth. I won't go all into that. Big attraction, cats are. And she was, every day she'd bring a couple of big iguanas up to 2'6" long and so forth, run up the tree and get them. They can't escape them. And now we're telling them, no, you can't kill the rock iguana because the rock iguana, they don't go by color. Cats don't. They're not like us. They're not color present. They're gonna, if you said that this thing is wrong, then they're gonna deal with it, and that's the way it is. And now we're saying to them, no, you can't do this. The idea is the booby birds. We used to call it egging here in Cayman. We went egging. The egg birds, we called them years ago, and they're colonized in many places. They have them profusely in other places, and so they're not an extinct thing. They're not in danger of becoming extinct at all. I don't think so, and I say this without any fear of being, looked at as an idiot just saying things off the bat. But I say, and I remember when my father was asked by the Jamaican government to go and call them, and he did, and he went, and they had to call them and bring in eggs from the Pedro Keys because they were a huge, huge problem for the fishermen there. That was their livelihood, staying on the Keys. My father had set that up many years ago for the Jamaican government and taught navigation, and one of his big jobs was inspecting boats for them because he had boat licenses, captain and shipwright licenses and all of them. I have those in my possession. And he went out and called them. He brought in, I think it was 20,000 dozen eggs. And my old friend, blessed memory, David Penedo, he went out with my father, I think it was 1961. And then I had to go back to school as we my final exams and so forth, so I couldn't go. But I remember that. But they had to call them, and that was it. And the booby eggs was a very special delicacy. Everybody used to have them there, and they sold them there in Kingston. The higglers, we call them, those people, those were market women. And the thing is this: if you're going to protect these birds, our cats are here forever. They've been with us, and I disagree with that, with calling them. And I heard a gentleman this morning call in from Mr. O.C.'s show, and I agree with him 100%. They're there. I have mine, and I don't want to see anyone try and come here and try to call our cats. They're in for a rude awakening if they try. And I have several outside. They're all spayed and neutered, and they live happily outside, well fed, and all over, especially in Savannah. Lots of people have cats there. Jackson people are very well-known cat lovers, and all my family is here. And this is the thing. We can protect those booby birds if we want to. We can fence around certain areas, just fence around. The cats won't crawl up on them fences if they have food and they're spayed and neutered. And they do kill the rats, and they do control them. I remember an old gentleman, he's passed away now, I believe, in Cayman Brack. He'd often call in on the radio and talk about the rats destroying his sweet potato, little ground that he had, and destroying it, and then the cats would kill them. They don't want sweet potatoes. Cats, we know, are carnivorous. And they would kill the rats, and he's saying now they come, and this is years ago, to put the cats to sleep, and then the rats will continue destroying his things. This is what it is. This is the life of predators, and this is what the system God has devised for us. There are certain controls that he built into nature. One animal will control to others when they come, destructive and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't agree with that at all. I think we can do better. We can do better. We can protect those things. The Humane Society needs more money, a bigger place. We have got lawyers and accountants here who are earning millions and millions of dollars, and many people in the financial world. We can take some money from them and build a much better place. And I was listening to the horrendous story with the mental health center, which we humans are at the top of the chain. We all know that we must come first and get that done. If it takes money to hire the people, get them here. And all that, get that thing occupied. We can't keep blaming our politicians, of course, for these things, but stand by them, and we know they take a heavy licking all the while, but they decided to stand up and be elected, and that's what it's all about, But we can do this, build a better system for the Humane Society, provide more for them than that poor old place down there, which is way, way below the level it should be, and we can do it. Just tax these people. Tax them.
Mm-hmm. Mr. McCain, thank you, sir, for that. With great respect. The news is just about to be inserted, so thank you, sir. And with that, we'll continue. You too, sir. Thank you very much. When we come back, we'll take some more calls. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman.
Your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins. In the forecast tonight, partly cloudy skies becoming cloudy late tonight with a 40% chance of late night showers. Temperatures will fall to the upper 60s Fahrenheit. Winds will be northwesterly at 10 to 15 knots, becoming 15 to 20 knots late tonight. Seas will be moderate with wave heights of 2 to 4 feet, becoming rough late tonight with wave heights of 4 to 6 feet. Small crafts should exercise caution over open waters from late tonight. In international news, Donald Trump's real estate company has been fined $1.6 million by a New York judge for tax crimes. Jurors had found the Trump organization guilty of fraud and falsifying business records in December. The company is synonymous with the former president, but neither he nor his family were part of the trial. Manchester City footballer Benjamin Mendy has been found not guilty of 6 counts of rape and 1 count of sexual assault against 4 young women. The jury failed to reach verdicts on 1 count of rape and 1 of attempted rape, and a retrial will take place. Louis Saha Maturi was also found not guilty of 3 counts of rape against 2 teenagers. Mr. Mendy and his friend, Mr. Maturi, had been accused of raping women at the player's home in Prestbury, Cheshire, and at a Manchester flat in England. These are your headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab. Blood test, x-ray and mammogram, all of that is MedLab. Affordable fees and friendly service, a full professional team. MedLab is always comfortable, MedLab is always clean. For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Freedom, Cayman Brack. Freedom, Little Cayman. Soft breezes, blue waters, no traffic. Unwind and rejuvenate your mind, body, and soul. Sister Island Staycations, a taste of freedom. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Thanks for joining us and in the studio, SD Ebanks. As we continue the discussion, let's join the callers online. Hey, good afternoon, welcome. Thanks for. Oh, we had a caller. We had a caller. That could be a commercial for sales department. The caller will call back. When the caller calls back, we'll listen. Well, thank you very much. And we do understand sometimes people are expecting to continue online, and all of a sudden they get called away. No pun intended. Okay, so Mr. S.D. Banks, we were asking prior, some of the things that, from the perspective of our younger population, and you were referencing education and the like. So, share with us as you wish.
Well, for the educational side of everything, I feel that there needs to be a fundamental change as to how most of the youths are being educated these days.
Mm-hmm.
We're being brought up in a slightly archaic system. Hasn't really fundamentally changed at all, because, for example, as myself, when I was in school, I was taught the basics: math, English, science, social studies, just the basics. But I wasn't really taught of how I was going to need to really engage adulthood or the work field or anything of the sort. I was just taught, keep your head down, be diligent, say yes ma'am, no ma'am, or yes sir, no sir, and you'll get ahead in life. Not entirely. That doesn't play with every part of life, because again, you're going to have to make decisions on your own, and with them trying to keep everybody to pretty much critically think on their own, it's good, but at the same time, you also got to encourage your students to be able to work together. So if we can fundamentally change the educational system to actually have people to work together, to actually brainstorm together, rather than just sit down, take a test on your own and see if you pass or not. Everybody's going to have different answers, regardless. And with that, I feel like an fundamental change in the education system to actually prepare everybody for life, rather than just be that of a diligent worker, can really cause a much more positive impact towards the youth's future.
All right. Critical thinkers is a phrase that will come to mind. We do have a caller, but maybe we'll come back to that point.
Sure thing.
A very, very valid point. Hey, good afternoon. Welcome. Thank you for calling.
Good afternoon, Sterling.
Hi, how you doing, man? Welcome.
Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks. Thanks to Susan. The toll free is back up and running. That's good.
Yeah. Thanks to Susan. Thank you very much, man.
She better than any worker. They got a flow. I can tell them about that.
Yeah, no, but publicly, I mean, I think the team here has been aware of it. We did bring it to attention to the team over at Flow for a while, and they've been working diligently, I think, since December-ish to address it. Certainly, constant reminders didn't hurt, So we want to thank Flow for for acknowledging it and doing what they need to do to get it done.
Yeah, they did a good job getting that back. I just want to comment on the gentleman there that just got through talking about disagreeing with what Mr. John was talking about with the situation here in the Brock. They shouldn't make that seem like it's the whole entire island, They should just make that seem like wherever they're trying to control that area, they're trying to control that area. Because I am struggling to grow stuff on my ground, under my property on the bluff, because of rats. I am not going to sit down and allow nobody, whether foreigner or whether born and bred, come near my area to remove any wildcat that in my property, keeping down killing the rats that there for me to try to grow my crops that I'm growing. He cannot come on no radio. I don't care what government paying him or anybody else talking about cat don't eat rat. I never heard more foolishness in my life that cat don't eat no rat. Cat mightn't sit there and eat that complete rat, but that cat is gonna kill that rat. And whether he eat it or not, Sterling, that is not a concern of mine. Once he kill it, that is what I'm worrying about. I love business whether he eat it. I want to know that he killed the rat in order for me to keep my crops going, because that is a pest, terrible pest. He's worse than termite. And the thing about it is, when our government got to go to that level to bring people here, I see them driving around, rent them car, pay hundreds and hundreds of dollars to feed them weekly, and give them free flight, more or less. The flight is probably free from to get from there to here, to come over here and kill our cats. They don't know who the cat's for. Somebody couldn't afford it at the time and place a cat there. They don't know the reason why. Why do they have this power that out of nowhere they can come here on the block and come and think that they can come here and do as they please? Whether DOE or whoever, it doesn't matter. They have no right to come and kill these cats the way they're doing. Because when somebody take and kill a cat and it goes to court, then they say, oh, it's inhumane how people kill them. What they're doing, and it should be against the law.
You're breaking up. Can you hear us? Yeah, we were losing you slightly then, and I'll say it again. Perhaps when the caller comes back on, but I think Mr. Bothwell, when he was on, shared that this initiative is on the bluff. It isn't on all three islands just yet. But it's just on the bluff.
That's a specific area.
Yeah. Sorry, you're still there?
Yeah. I think what happened was we had a power failure here, and I think that kind of played with the station.
Yeah.
You can hear it breaking in now. No, Sterling, I was saying there should not be the government allow these people to come here and do these kind of things to the cats. Nobody here has an issue with no cats. It only, who has an issue with the cats? These foreign people that around here talking about booba watching, they are the ones that has issues with wildcat. Let me talk on something while I did, and I hope to God everybody listening, because I want them to hear it. The government has put in place about these boobies. If you drive through the island, they put in place areas that they call beach opening in certain areas, especially on the south side, where these boobies nest. I go there and I fish, and I come up a pile of boobies on the ground nesting. It's the same area with our government allowed for beach access, is what the sign says. Beach access for foreigners to go out there. Nobody goes in them areas because it's high rock, and you can't swim there, and they got about beach access to it, and boobies are nesting there. I'm not saying that the wildcats not eating the boobies down on the south or up on the end of the bluff. I'm not saying that, because they don't have that much wildcats around the place. People have their pets and they run across the road to go in the bush and run back to go back to their home, and most of the time they get killed. They can't come here and tell us that they'll come here and take the cats and destroy our cats, and we are left with a mess of rats infesting our grounds and our yards and our homes to eat us out of our homes. How low can the government go to make these kind of stupidness come inside our country to just destroy us, just because DOE see something that foreigners come and tell them that they have a problem with? This rat system now is the same system that we had with the groupers, the lobsters, the conchs. It's now it's going to the rats. So who else to come into that, Sterling? Me and you?
You mean the cats, right?
No. Yeah, sorry, the cats. Yeah. Now it's coming to me and you?
Yeah.
Something serious should be done about this, Sterling. It has to be stopped. And I will tell anybody that listening, whether it came on Brack, Lil came on, or Grand came on, if they come around and they see these people driving around in these high-color clothes coming inside the place, run them. Do not give them no chance to put it there, because Sterling, I got to tell the whole entire nation listening this afternoon, if I find a trap in my property about collecting cats, they're going to have an issue with James Christian, and I ain't backing down from nobody, because they have no rights. I remember one time my children were little baby. especially what had the last girl, a little crawling thing on the ground, everything she would see, she would pick. And you know what I come out my front yard one day and found? Where the mosquito research had came into my yard without permission and put a piece of pipe in a hole by not completely a hole, like a little ditch in the ground, and put rat poison in that piece of pipe. And how I saw it, my little girl was crawling towards it, Sterling. If my child had eat that, she would have been dead today. And I went to that mosquito research and I told them plain and straight, if they think that God Almighty gave them a long enough life, think about coming in my yard ever again. Sterling, these kind of things is going to cause problems in our country. And if our government don't stop these things and stop listening to foolishness from foreigners, we're going to end up in a mess because we are in a bad enough situation. And we need to keep ourselves as Caymanians and keep ourselves strong and stop being a coward to these foreign people that are telling us what to do. I got certain color on the...
Yeah. Hello, caller? Huh. What? Coincidence or just timely? I don't know. He was going to say something and now he's not. Interesting. Well, maybe we will connect up. We got a question for him as well. Well, for what it's worth, man, I was listening with bated breath to hear it. Sometimes we get saved with a bell. You can hear me okay, Miss Susan? Because it seems to have been the caller.
That just cut right off.
Right off. Kind of like you out fishing. Not fishing, you out fishing, and all of a sudden you pull up a line, big old bar come by and cut you right off.
Oh, man, that was a pain. That was a pain.
Yeah, that didn't happen on the same. Well, James Bobo, you can ring back if you want. But passion sometimes can get ahead of us, right? So maybe that was just a good way to perhaps reach the... He's back online? All right, James back?
Yes. Sorry, it's something happened. Anyway, don't worry about all that.
No, man.
Yeah, it's honestly.
Listen to you, man. Listen to you.
Tell me something.
Uh-huh.
Do you realize one morning you got to wake up and you can't go back no more?
But what that might be yesterday?
That might be yesterday. When you go home this afternoon, you better make sure you can get there for the last time, because this is what we come into in this country.
Yeah. Let me ask with great respect. You say you've seen the people driving around in the cars. I would imagine these are civil service, government workers, not contracted people. Or can you tell? Do you know? I never really thought to ask that. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I would have liked that time, because when I saw the people, I'm not an inquisitive person, I stay to myself. But when your eye catch something, you kind of wonders about it at the same very time. And it didn't ring no bell to me till I heard Miss Carey complain, talking about it, and then all of a sudden, boom, the news just blew up on this island that these are what people are doing here with these against these cats.
Yeah.
And Sterling, what I'm saying is, I have my cats, but my cats are controlled in my own yard. They are always, once a certain time of the evening, like 5 o'clock hit, them cats come in, they lock in the garage, they do not come out during the night time. If my cats are out and these people cross and catch sight of my cats, what the first thing the impulse of them people got to be? These things are what's going to happen around here. It's going to create problems. We as Caymanians do not allow in and everybody, and I hope Caymanians get back to that. We do not allow in and everybody to walk in and out our yards. And these people are faced enough to come around the place, and I don't understand why it is that our government allowing these. When we go up by the Booba Trail, we as Caymanians, Cayman Brackers, we not used to see no traps put down in no trails or nowhere around our lighthouse. They need to stay from there. We have no ties caught up with these people, and now they got to coming. The place look like it's some to the tourists. I don't know what it gonna look like. No, man. No, it's sad. It's sad, and we need more people starting to stand up. We need more people to stand up in this country for the foolishness like this. That government can't pay my child a proper salary to work 5 days a week, but they can pay hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars now to build buy traps to come and control cats between here and Grand Cayman.
Yeah. I don't live on the Brack. I mean, I probably, close enough to Paradise as it is, so if I ever get a fortune to be over there, be even better. But as you live in there, in your best estimation, the number of cats, hundreds, thousands? I mean...
No, Sterling, don't let nobody fool you with no. Yeah. I heard that man say that just now, about hundreds of thousands. Remember, listen, I remember, let me make this point first. I remember when government paid certain individuals to come to Kimmenbrock to tell them how much parrots won Kimmenbrock. They say about only 65 or 25. I think they say 25 sterling parrots on Kimmenbrock. I counted the same time they were saying it on the radio. I counted in my yard 14. And I said, you know what, let me drive up on my property, which is about 7 miles away. Let me go drive up on my property to see how much up there, sterling. When I got that count, 29. 29. Eating near a god thing that I could grow from the beans straight to the flowers. And I can't do nothing about them, but still, these people come around here starting talking about it, hundreds of thousands of cats. There's no sample. I mean, come on, man. Oh, you are telling me that we are overpopulated by cats that much on this little island? No, man. No, something that you see, when they make it drastic as such and put these high numbers, if they had said we got 500 cats on the island, you think government would have put that much interest in saying, okay, go remove 500 cats? No, they're saying now with hundreds of thousands of cats, so the government can say, oh, that's a problem. You see? And that is lies. That is lies. Because you can take a drive down a garbage dump down there, and if you see 5 wild cats walking around that dump, you see plenty, and that's a dump. I mean, come on, man. Come on, man. Where our brain is. You mean tell me these people got even count for us now, man, Sterling? No, man, no. Sad, man. It's sad.
What is it that Ronald Reagan, the U.S. president, used to say to the former Russian president? Trust but verify. That's what you're saying, right?
Exactly.
All right, man.
Exactly.
All right, thanks very much, right?
Yeah, man, take care and have a good weekend.
You too, man. Have a wonderful weekend. Keep us posted.
Yeah, man.
All the best. Well, that's less than 10 minutes in the program today. I appreciate you sitting with us. Maybe as your work schedule allows, if you see where you can come in, by all means, give me a heads up. But you were referencing just then that there needs to be a different approach to the education system. I want to repeat back what I thought I heard you saying, and that we were sort of, from then until now, your perspective, teaching the children just to read, recite, and regurgitate. Don't think for yourself. Just be good little workers, and my brothers are called robots. Just walk along, get along, don't worry about nothing. You want us to think, to act, to talk, to do things properly, to be able to fend for ourselves.
Yeah, definitely try to come. Well, that's also from what I had said earlier on the show about unifying as well. Because if we teach our youths to just do everything on their own, be able to study on their own, do tests on their own, whatnot, we're not going to really get too far with that. We're not going to have real critical thinkers to come together and be able to unify as one and actually resort to a solution where everybody can agree with.
But the challenge, some would say, if a person can think for him or herself, can talk, then they might actually have an opinion, and you can't have that. I mean, you got to do what you're told. That seems to be the mindset of some, was it the poem? Yours is not to wonder why, yours is just to do or die.
Yeah.
One more call, Miss Susan? All right. Good afternoon and welcome. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, good afternoon, sir.
Afternoon. How are you today?
I'm fine. I hope that caller is still listening to you, because I got a favor I want to ask him. That if he go out and get lobsters now, if he would pull the tail out of a lobster and look in the lobster head and see if he don't see where the spawn for the lobster is. That is a question I wanted to ask him and the other guy I asked you about the other morning, because right now it is lobsters spawning season. The lobster started to spawn from last month. So I hope he's still listening and would do what I asked him, what I'm asking, and let you know what he finds.
Okay. All right. And did you leave that number the other day?
Yeah, I left that number with the
guide.
Monday.
All right. Let me check, because we'll find it. But do it again for me one more time. Let Susan take it from you off air, okay? And then she can pass it on. But thanks very much, and I'll pass it on. Have a good weekend too, sir.
You too.
All right. And I understand the caller's contention that maybe sometimes things aren't from their perspective, like the gentleman prior with the number of cats, as it is being portrayed by the government perspective. And I think sometimes there's a balance between how do we deal with something without creating a bigger problem, and how do we ensure that we do it, as properly as possible. But one of our listeners shares, and this is here in Grand Cayman, that the bigger problem for this listener is the dogs, not the cats.
Okay.
Dogs come into the yard and do their business, like the lady had called earlier, reference to cats as well. This listener shares that sometimes you have a wild cat come around, you feed it, and it gets a little bit timid, but sometimes they're still a bit shy, and so it takes a while to get them.
Everything's timid around from meeting new faces.
Yeah, and unfortunately, she had a most sad and sort of encounter coming in one day, and a cat ran under the car and didn't survive. So
that's
very heartbroken, she shares. But again, as many callers have shared, they have a bigger problem with dogs than with cats. It could be something to be considered. But it comes back to what you said about education, though. Are we thinking in a way to encourage a sense of ownership and reasonableness, and people to be able to rationalize, or are we just being instructed, press a button and go along?
I feel that with the education system how it's been throughout the world, to be honest, and on our island, we're just trying to pump out, again, diligent workers. It's good to have a diligent worker, but it's better to have a society that can come together and work together, rather than just having that one individual mind to say yes sir, no sir, or just follow in line.
Is it then that somehow, as you said, that later think this, right, share with you, we may confuse this notion of when people, in order for them to be respectful, decent, that they have to be compliant. And instead of recognizing that people can have a different perspective, a different view, opinion, they can disagree. Doesn't mean that they're disrespectful. It doesn't mean necessarily that there's a malice. So for us, is it that for you to be seen as being respectful and you need to be compliant, you need to be docile, you need to be, like you said, little like sheep.
Yeah. Unfortunately, surprisingly, everybody's being thought to be as sheep, but honestly, we should kind of divert from that. Instead of just being the sheep, we can actually be the one to. It's kind of difficult.
I'm hearing you, man, because I think you reference, and maybe us who are a little bit older, maybe we get it, or maybe we don't quite, but we think we do. And I'm going to draw inference from what I think you're saying based on similar conversations with other youth. I reference, for instance, Chad Anthony Powell's comment, and it's been a better part of 10 years. I've sat here in the first early days only to be chastised for it. I thought, well, I only made a reference to students at that time. Students of mine were expressing concern that they don't see a future in Cayman. Now, 10 years ago wasn't that long ago. That was a problem prior to that. But I have these young students saying they're not sure, even with an education, that they'll find a job.
That is true.
And you tell me today, now it's still a problem. Worse, Chad referenced it as well. They can't afford land. They can't afford to pay rent, buy a house. Yeah. Is that a real thing for,
Most definitely. It is definitely a real thing. As what I've been observing throughout my experiences just growing up on the island and trying to work to pay rent as well. It seems that this island is going to go only to knowing how to pay rent rather than being able to own your own house or being able to have your own land and leave something for maybe your future generation. If you're trying to make a future generation, it all depends on what the individual really wants. But at the same time, if we cannot start thinking together rather than just individually and thinking, I have to do this all for my own, rather than, hey, I had my fellow man help me out to gain this. with that type of mentality, I would say we can really see a prosperous future for the youths and for those to come. In all honesty, because
I want to give some thought. Right, we can weigh in now. You can think about it. Tell me later. You can call in. You can come back in. And this is to you as well as I'm going to think about it, and for the rest of us, a little bit of a weekend initiative as we talk. We hear the plight of our young people, and not just the school leaver or those who get ready to leave school shortly. This young individual who's been working a while, the one who's recently graduated from university, and whether they're lawyers or accountants, and I've even heard from a few physicians that as they come back to Cayman with these qualifications, some level of experience that they find in A, challenge to find work, B, if they find work, it's not work that is paying them what they understand their counterparts from other countries with similar education experience is being paid, so they're being paid less. Now, you hear from one person, you hear from two people, you might think, then you hear for dozens. So give us a thought, wonder what some of the possible solutions could be for us as a country to address that,
Well, to address that, if you're a local coming from overseas and trying to seek a job in certain departments, I don't know whether it be a law firm or whether it be in the hospital, medical field. Sorry.
Yeah.
Definitely the experience that you've had will give a stronger impact on them being able to hire you. But when you're just coming out of a university or whatnot, you don't quite have that experience right away. You can't expect to be 18 years old with already 20 years of experience. That's just foolish.
But yet, for some reason, we will take somebody from somewhere just because they can speak, or maybe we're just confused by what we see. And despite doing the math, like you said, the person will present as if they got 10 years experience, but that would make them a lot older than they actually are, even if they got academic experience. But yet we accept it. Weird. Maybe Mr. Mickey has said it, as he usually does, very accurately. How can you get experience if you don't have a chance to get experience?
Exactly.
Esther, thank you very much, right?
You're very much welcome.
I would like very much for you to join us again when you can. And to our listeners, we end in today's program with the invitation to join us again. Come Monday, right, Miss Susan? Monday. It's not a holiday. Not yet. It might be though, but not this time around. Soon come. And on Monday, I'm just checking the schedule. Today's the 13th, huh? Friday the 13th.
That's a lucky day.
It is a lucky day. All right. Well, we've got a couple of things in store. We're going to have some open line as well. That's the plan, as we invite you to be a part of our discussion on Monday. But start it off with Mr. Orton. Come Monday morning for the record and be a part of all that he shares. We can learn a lot through the many things that he relays to us. And as I invite my listeners to go about the country, continuing to volunteer, continuing to discuss with the intent of finding viable solutions that we can implement. As Esther has been sharing from the very opening words, unification. How do we come together, unite, stand as one for a better country? As we say, safe, secure, stable. Right, Esther?
Yep, safe, secure, and stable, and make sure you're able to give your helping hand out there. You don't have to do it as an individual, but you can always come together and figure out what to brainstorm into the solution.
Indeed. Well, as I want each of us, every single one, to have a very safe and relaxing and enjoyable weekend, remember our part to play. I asked Miss Susan to play a song, and because it sort of speaks to me in a way, and if you're listening and it does in the scene, I hope you enjoy it. Music, they say, is one of those unifying things.
Oh, and by far.
What is it the poet reminds us? If music be the food of love, play on. All right. I love my music and I love my country even better. All right. So this is an interesting song. We'll talk about it sometime, but I hope you like it as much as I did. Miss Susan, thank you very much. And to our listeners, have a blessed weekend.
Baby, lay on back and relax. Kick your pretty feet up on my dash. No need to go nowhere fast. Let's enjoy right here